We're here now with The Legal Answer, our segment twice a month here on Studio 10, brought to you by the Sinas Dramus Law Firm and personal injury attorneys, Steve Sinas and Katie Tucker. And joining us this week is Stephen Sinas. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
All right, well, thank you for joining us, Stephen. And today we're talking about jury verdicts in motor vehicle negligence cases. And Steve, sometimes those verdicts can be quite substantial. But is all the money awarded through the verdict actually paid to the injured person?
So I've been handling auto cases my entire career, and I believe that one of the biggest misconceptions out there is that just because an injured person gets a multi-million-dollar verdict against an at-fault driver, that they're going to get paid all that money. That is not necessarily true. There are a couple different reasons for that. First of all, the assets of the defendant might not be enough to actually pay that person the judgment. Right. So you could get hurt by an at-fault driver. They might not have their own assets to actually pay you the amount that you get through a jury verdict. Then you turn to the person's insurance coverage. And when it comes to insurance coverage, it can be very limited. So you could sustain catastrophic injury due to the negligence of another driver, and they may only have $50,000 of liability insurance. So you get that multi-million-dollar judgment, but you only get $50,000 of insurance money. So those are two main reasons. The other issue that can come up is if you get that big verdict against the defendant, they may appeal the verdict, and you go to the Court of Appeals for another year or two. And during that process, maybe they settle with you for less than the verdict because they know they have the appellate issue hanging over your case. So those are some reasons why the verdict that you get may not be the actual amount that you get paid.
Yeah, and Stephen, thank you for clarifying that, because I know those are pretty big misconceptions. And has your firm ever had a case where you pursued the personal assets of the defendants that you sued?
When people come and talk to us about representing them, they're really concerned about taking the money from the at-fault driver. They obviously are upset that the at-fault driver caused them injury, but they don't want to bankrupt the person. And so we have to explain to them how we pursue insurance coverages.
Okay.
And in most cases, a very high percentage of cases, probably 99% of cases overall, get resolved for the insurance proceeds that are available. That's really because people have mercy in their heart and they're willing to accept those proceeds as a total settlement against the at-fault driver. However, when the at-fault driver does something really egregious, say that they were intoxicated, right, say that they also had low levels of insurance coverage, there have been cases where we say to the at-fault driver, what you did was so wrong, your insurance coverage wasn't enough, you also need to pay some of your money. That really does not happen very often at all. It's happened a few times in my career.
Now, Stephen, what happens when there's no liability insurance covering the at-fault driver who caused the crash?
Well, that means that it's like squeezing blood from a turnip against the at-fault driver, so to speak. If they don't have insurance coverage and they don't have assets, you can get that judgment against them, but you're not going to get any money from them. No. So what your fallback rights are is to pursue uninsured or underinsured motorist benefits through your own insurance policy. And that's going to depend on whether or not you actually bought that coverage. So I highly recommend that everybody buy as much uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage as they can, because that is protection in the event that they're hit by an at-fault driver who doesn't have enough insurance to cover their damages. So that's a big source of protection that you can buy yourself through your own auto insurance.
Okay, buying enough underinsured and uninsured protection, you said?
Yes.
All right,
you should talk to your insurance agent about that.
That's right. Okay, well, thank you so much for clarifying that and giving us that information and breaking it down in a way that's easy for all of us here to understand. And of course, we'll have more information online at WILX.com. Thank you so much for joining us, Stephen.
Thanks for having me.